This program is brought to you by Emory University.
Dean Thomas Lawley, will you present our fourth honored guest?
Mr. President,
Mr. Dean.
I have the honor to present to you Bernard Marcus to receive the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters.
Bernard Marcus, visionary businessman, civic leader, philanthropist. Revolutionizing an industry, you helped found a dynamic global community and galvanized us all to renovate and build anew. Placing your passion and generosity at the service of the community, you created the Marcus Institute and fostered close affiliations with the pediatrics and psychiatry departments of Emory. Your largesse extends from Atlanta around the world, from the Georgia Aquarium to the Israel Democracy Institute in Jerusalem. Your humanitarian leadership through the Shepherd Center, the City of Hope, and the Marcus Jewish Community Center marks you as a valiant steward of positive transformation in the world. With highest regard for your business acumen, and with gratitude for your zeal for the common good, we are privileged to bestow upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa. At this time, I would like to ask Mr. Marcus to deliver this morning's keynote address. Please welcome Bernie Marcus, Dr. Bernie Marcus.
Dr. Bernie Marcus, okay. Well, that's going to be interesting because I'm going to refer to that very shortly. President Wagner, members of the Emory University faculty, the alumni, family and friends, and especially to you, the graduating class. It's a great honor to be here with you today. You know, for a 79-year-old man whose claim to fame is that I'm a marketer of hammers, I'm humbled to have the responsibility of speaking to you. By the way, today is my birthday. And frankly, I can't think of a better way to spend it. Well, that's not really true, but it's not bad being here in front of all of you and celebrating this day with you. I'd like to tell you a story first. You know, Dr. Wagner, there was another university, and the president of the university was showing a very distinguished group around this university, and he was showing the buildings. And as they came to the engineering building, and it was a lovely building, and people were saying, gee, what a great building, it's really wonderful. And he said, no, this is nothing. Wait till you see the Ed White School of Literature. And they said, fine. They got to the medical school, and the medical schools are very impressive. And he said, oh, this is nothing. Wait till you see the Ed White School of Literature. And as they went school by school, everyone, he said, the Ed White School of Literature. Well, by the time they got to the Ed White School of Literature, it was a magnificent building. Granite, glass, marble, and the name Ed White School of Literature right up front. And one of the people said, who is Ed White? And they said, oh, he's one of the great writers of all time. And they looked at him and said, Ed White, a great writer of all time? And one of them said, by the way, I've been a professor of literature for years. I never heard the name Ed White. What did he write? And he looked at his eyes and he said, you don't know what he wrote? This man wrote a check. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what I do. I write checks. Now, they call me a philanthropist, but the truth is I'm just really giving back I'm giving back to this great country which really gave me the opportunity to achieve the success that I've had. I've had a great life. Now, how did I get there? How did I get to the point where I'm a check writer? Did my family have money? No. Did I inherit money? No. Giving your money away is a long way from how I began my life. Mine truly is the story of America and the reality of living the American dream. I'm a first-generation American who started my life in a fourth-floor, walk-up tenement in Newark, New Jersey. Oh, I hear some Newark people. My mother and father were Russian immigrants. They came to America with no money. They didn't read, write, or speak English. They came with nothing. They had nothing. But to them, that tenement was a paradise, a penthouse compared to what they had in Russia. My mother believed that America was the golden land, and wherever you put your mind to, you could achieve. She told me there were 4 things you had to do to be successful. Number 1 was work hard. Number 2 was believe in yourself. Number 3 was get an education. And number 4 is don't let disappointments discourage you. Just like many in this audience, I decided at a very early age of what I was going to be when I grow up. We were poor, and no one else in my family had a college education. But at the age of 12, I knew that I was going to be a doctor. Little did I know it was going to happen today. But I was going to be a doctor. That was my dream. By 13, I had studied all of the medical books in my doctor's office, and I knew the anatomy of the body. By 15, I was doing my own diagnosis when I went to the doctor. And by the way, I was more right than he was most of the time. After high school, I started my pre-med studies, and I was a pretty good student. In fact, I was so good that I qualified and I was accepted to Harvard Medical School. But because of quotas, and in those days, there were quotas for Jewish students, and it was 10% in medical school. I couldn't get in unless I donated $10,000 to the school. Ha, what a joke. We certainly couldn't afford that. If you took my entire family and you held them upside down, you couldn't raise $10,000. So medical school was out. I was discouraged, disheartened. My dreams were shattered. Frankly, for a time I gave up. But with the urging of my mother and my family, I realized that it was time to get back on a train to success and take advantage of the great things this country offered. I enrolled in pharmacy school, and I earned my pharmacy degree. It was as close to being a doctor as I was ever going to get, except for today. So how did I go from pharmacy school, from doing drugs? No, not doing drugs. I prescribed drugs. I did other things. How did I get from there to selling hammers? And that's a pretty long story, but it's interesting because when you think you know where your career will take you, it can turn out totally different. Let me mention here that in my years of meeting executives and successful people around the world, I have been fascinated by where these people started and where they ended. I know doctors who are real estate developers. I know real estate developers who are running medical companies. And in fact, I know one real estate developer who ended up as a U.S. Senator right here in Georgia. I know educators who are running big businesses. I know business leaders who are now teaching what they learned to students in classrooms. Maybe social work, politics. Perhaps we may even have a future president in this group. It's a possibility. Many of you are going to excel, I'm sure. And many of you will succeed in a field far from where your studies have taken you. Now, what's the moral to all of this? The message to be learned here is that there are many options in life. While you may be convinced there's only one way to fulfill a dream, you're going to find out there are many roads that lead you to your dreams. And those dreams may find you when and where you least expect it. Wouldn't it be fascinating if we had a crystal ball and we could read the future of all of you, where you'll be 10 or 15 years from now? So my advice to you is keep your eyes, ears, and minds open. Opportunities pop up at the most unexpected times and places. Are you going to recognize it? If you do, take it. I hope you, when you finish this ceremony and get on with your busy day, maybe you'll walk away with a single grain of advice that'll have an impact on you. I hope so. Let me get back to the road I took from pharmacy to hammers. Obviously, the route I took to find my way was really filled with trial and error. But I was very successful as I climbed the ladder in retailing. The ladder in retailing. Home Depot, hardware. Are you sure you're all graduating today? Is this the brightest class you've had? Okay. Anyway, climbing that ladder. On that road, you've got to be sharp. One other thing my mother said, be sharp. Listen carefully, okay? On that road, I learned a number of other things I'd like to share with you. And the first one is really the importance of being happy. The second is recognizing opportunities. The next is the benefit of the free enterprise system. And finally, personal desires and dedication and the role they play in success. Now, working as a pharmacist soon led me to people who gave me a great opportunity in marketing and selling. And I found that this was truly what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in a marketing business, and from that day forward, I tried marketing, got involved with it, and every day I went to work from that day on was a day that I loved. And I can't tell you strongly enough how important that is. And because I loved what I did, I was good at it. And because I was good at it, I was successful. What is success going to mean to you? And how are you going to measure it? Is it going to be sheer economics? Or would you consider yourself successful when you truly enjoy what you do? And what you do, is that going to make you look forward every day to going to work? Now, not long after I found my niche in retailing, I became CEO of a major chain of home improvement stores in California. And it grew to be one of the most successful and largest in the United States at that time. And then, at the age of 49, pow, I was fired. Fired. That had never happened to me before. I was 49 years old. I had a family, had obligations, and all of a sudden, my world came to an end. A shocking end, and it was not anticipated. I was caught up in one of those corporate intrigues, and it ended up that I was the odd guy out. I was finished. And so here I was, think about it, for the second time in my life, with what was a career-ending experience. The first time, of course, was when I wanted to be a doctor. I had two choices: sit around and feel sorry for myself and complain that once again I got a raw deal. Or I could move forward. From my experience early on of not getting into medical school, I learned that the way you handle and deal with life's setbacks really creates the basis of what you will accomplish in the future. I said to myself, I used to talk to myself a lot. Bernie, do the soul searching and blaming, bitch and moan, and then get on with your life. Disappointment. I want to reiterate to every single one of you that you will in your life, and I promise this will happen to you. You're going to be disappointed in something or someone, whether it is the reaction of others toward you or a circumstance that just didn't work out. Let me stress that your ability to deal with those situations will be a defining factor in your own career. How you handle difficulties, setbacks, and disappointments will form the basis of your own personal inner strength and character. Many of the people I've met in my life who've been successful have had at least one major setback that could have been a career-ending and career-changing. The ones who have succeeded are those who are able to overcome. Rather than being consumed with self-pity and blaming others for their failures, they've learned to discover why their failures happen. And they use that as a stepping stone to a more successful career and life. I know that many times when something bad happens, we have a tendency to want to blame somebody. We live in an age where people don't want to take responsibility for anything, especially their own lives. My hypothesis is taking responsibility for your own actions makes it easier to move on and create something substantive for yourself and your career. So here I was, ready to get on with my life. I had to come to some conclusions. Who am I? Do I have talent, strength, courage, foresight, and business acumen to keep going? Well, my mother said I did, and I found it. So when the answers came up positive, I decided I'd better move on and do something for myself. Deep in my heart, I realized that I was an entrepreneur, and it was time to build a company of my own. I was confident with the right people working alongside me, I could once again be successful. I already had the idea for the Home Depot. It would be a brand new concept in home improvement stores that would carry everything that anybody would ever need in order to build, maintain, or remodel a house at prices and with service you've never seen before. And I hope you all remember that. Home Depot, remember the name, please. Don't ever shop anywhere else. And if you shop anywhere else, may your toilet run forever. I leave you, that's a curse. And it's a serious one. I began to recruit people in the industry, and I wound up working alongside some of the greatest people I've ever had the privilege to be around. Along with my partner, Arthur Blank, we created the Home Depot, which today has more than 2,200 stores, sales of over $80 billion, and employs more than 300,000 people. Remember, this happened because of our free enterprise system, where in fact you can create Home Depots. You can be successful. I was. Again, I ask, what will success mean to you? Success doesn't come with easy handouts. Believe me, it's tough. You have to put your brains, your heart, and your soul into it, and you have to make sacrifices. I began this conversation with you today saying I have a great life. Mine is far from being the first Cinderella American story, success story. You can have yours too. Each of you, as you graduate, has the opportunity to have a successful life in your own field, whatever it may be, business, research, professional, or whatever your success. It doesn't have to be in billions of dollars or millions of dollars, but it should be something that gives you your own sense of personal fulfillment. As Emory students, you've had the opportunity to experience and understand that the benefits that giving back can mean to you. You have all benefited from the generous contribution of people like Robert Woodruff, whose business successes helped bring fruition the university you see. He's helped to build this place and has helped bring Emory to national prominence. University, hospitals, and museums all over the United States have essentially been built by entrepreneurs. Their names are on the buildings around here, who created their wealth because of our free enterprise system, and who in turn gave back. Public philanthropy is a characteristic of American life. It has been said for generations that our desire to give back is what makes America unique. Studies have shown that U.S. citizens are the most philanthropic in the world. I know that some of you are not native to the United States. According to articles I've read, Americans privately give at least $34 billion annually overseas. And the leading source of philanthropy to other countries comes from people who move to the United States and send money back home. And that accounts for approximately $18 billion. I hope that one of the things you learned while attending Emory was the importance of creating and disseminating wealth into institutions and faculties that benefit others around the world. I read that Emory University's mission statement is to create, preserve, teach, and apply knowledge in the service of humanity. I was thrilled to read that because the most important contribution you will make in your lifetime is helping your fellow human beings. I assure you it will be the most gratifying experience you will ever have. Believe me, I know doing something good in this world is better than the best earnings quarter report you've ever had in business. When your profit line is measured by the lives you have saved, or the children you have helped, or the needs you have met, you can never have red ink. My advice to all of you about giving back is do it in any way that you can, whether it's personal involvement or through contributions. Just be involved with something, helping a child to learn to read, or assisting a family at a time of disaster, supporting the rebuilding of a community when a hurricane or tornado strikes, or simply holding the hand of a person who is ill or old or lonely. Your life will be so much fuller. It will expand your heart. My family's involvement in today's society is far from the hammers I used to sell. We're involved with autism, a terrible plague that's diagnosed in 1 out of 150 children here in the United States and around the world, and it's increased tenfold in the last decade. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have called autism a national public health crisis, and the cause and cure remain unknown today. We support programs that deal with the health and welfare of children with disabilities. We're involved in medical research, nanotechnology, and many other areas. Our focus right now is on our military, whether they are active or veterans, and to help get them treatments for catastrophic combat-related injuries or paralysis or brain trauma. Hopefully, hundreds of men and women who are wounded in the service of their country and their families will get the medical and rehabilitation care they need and deserve. I cannot impress upon you enough. Thank you. They certainly do, and we forget about them, don't we? I cannot impress upon you enough how critically important it is in my own personal life when I know that I've touched a life. When I go to the Marcus Institute and I see an autistic child who may not have been functioning at all, and those of you who know or are associated with people who have autism, you know when I say non-functioning, how serious that is. And after several months at the Marcus Institute, they begin to smile, they begin to communicate, and they even begin to laugh. The profound effect that has had on my own personal psyche is unbelievable, but the effect it has on the family is so much greater. As college graduates, you have so many new days ahead of you. Enjoy them and learn something new from every one of them. For you U.S. citizens, don't ever forget how fortunate you are to live in this country. This is a country where you can thrive and do great things. For those of you who are citizens of other countries, think of how you can contribute to the prosperity and well-being of those around you. Start getting involved now. Start giving back today, whether you share knowledge or money or time. Our world needs your passion, your risk-taking, your enthusiasm, your courage, your wisdom, and your leadership. I hope the lesson that you learned today is that you can do some good, and perhaps one day you'll be able to experience the good fortune and personal reward of standing in front of an audience like this as a check writer or as a contributor in some other way. Then you'll know the incredible happiness and fulfillment you get from being somebody who makes a difference. So, good luck to all of you, and may you find success and happiness in your future. Thank you.
The preceding program is copyrighted by Emory University.